The weather will be changing a ton before and after Christmas. Before Christmas, we'll be dealing with another Arctic blast in addition to the potential for some snowfall over the next few days. But then after Christmas, we're going to be dealing with a big heat wave that's going to lead to some record-breaking temperatures and also the threat for some severe weather returning. But overall, a more chaotic weather pattern will likely end the 2024 year. So in today's forecast, we're going to break down exactly what you need to know about the weather that'll be impacting the United States over the next 10 days, and we'll begin with what's happening across the country this morning. And for most of us, we're actually waking up to some pretty calm conditions, especially from the Great Plains back into the southeast, but things are a little different back over in the Midwest and also through the Northeast. We do have a little storm that is currently moving through the Great Lakes region, and this is actually building up some snow right now across areas like Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, and Ohio, and this will likely lead to a coating to a few inches of snow throughout the remainder of today. Back over in the Northeast, we'll also be watching for a system to develop here just off the coast of the Carolinas tonight. This will eventually just move to the east of the New England area, and we actually could see some additional snowfall out of that, a close nor'easter almost there. And then back over along the west coast, this is going to be an area that's going to be hammered by atmospheric river events over the next week or two, which means that tons of rain will be falling and flooding will definitely become a big concern, in addition to some heavy snow in the higher elevations. Now, before we talk more about what's happening around and just after Christmas, I do want to talk more about what's going to be happening in terms of snowfall over the next 48 hours, as we're going to have two different snow events happening. The first of which is the one that's happening in the Midwest, Great Lakes, and northern Ohio Valley. This is a continuation from the winter storm that we saw yesterday in the Midwest, where many areas did end up picking up between 5 to 10 inches of snowfall. But over here in areas like the northern Ohio Valley, most of this is going to be light snow throughout the rest of this morning, and eventually as we go into the afternoon hours, the snowfall is going to become a lot more isolated. But we will be dealing with some lake effect snow over here in northwest Indiana and a little bit back over in the thumb of Michigan as we go later into the afternoon before this eventually fizzles out as we go into the evening. There could still be a little bit of isolated lake effect snow in western Michigan early Saturday morning, but I think overall it's just not going to be a favorable environment for big snowfall accumulation. So in terms of total snowfall accumulation, the most of it will be in northern Michigan over the next 24 hours, and then also back over in the upper Michigan Peninsula, where we could see a spot pick up near 1 to 2 feet of snow, and then also maybe an isolated spot in northwest Indiana that could also pick up between 3 to 6 inches of snow. But for the most part, many of you will only be picking up between 1 to 3 inches of snowfall, and that's even if that. Now, as we go into tonight and tomorrow morning, we're actually going to have a little interesting event happening. So the remnants of this winter storm are going to be moving into this low pressure system that's going to be offshore of the Carolinas, and this is actually going to create a little clipper system as we go to tonight into early Saturday morning. And I'll be honest with you guys, if this was any further to the west, we could be talking about a full-blown nor'easter, but the thing is, it's going to be about 100 miles too far to the east, I'd say, for New England to really see anything significant. We're actually going to be having a full-blown winter storm and probably a big snowstorm back over in Nova Scotia and just east of Maine there. So that's definitely something to watch for, but it looks like it's going to be mostly missing the United States. So in terms of total snowfall accumulation across the Northeast, there will be a good amount of snow across New York as we go into tonight into tomorrow morning. Overall, most areas between 1 to 5 inches of snow. Some spots could get closer to 6 to 7 inches of snow. Not much really in New England. A small spot maybe near Cape Cod around 1 to 3 inches. And then back over in eastern Maine, that's where that winter storm will be clipping that area. So some spots could get between 4 to 8 inches of snowfall. Now, the weather is going to be changing a lot, especially around and just after Christmas. And we're going to be dealing with an Arctic blast over the next few days and also a big heat wave as we go into next week. So let's begin with what's happening over the next few days. Beginning with Friday night into Saturday morning, we are going to have a large trough here in the northeast United States with a strong northwesterly flow in the jet stream, which is going to promote colder air here across much of the eastern tier of the United States as we go into this weekend, and that'll basically be our Arctic blast for the week. As we go into early next week, we are going to have a small storm system move here across the Midwest. This should promote at least some showers and thunderstorms across the Ohio Valley and the southern plains, and perhaps even some snowfall. We'll talk more about that here in just a moment. And then by the time we get closer to Christmas, that's when the weather pattern gets very interesting. The jet stream will be very strong here along the west coast of the United States, which will promote a lot of rainfall along the west coast, and in addition to that, atmospheric river events. But the problem here is that this particular weather pattern is eventually going to lead to a lot of warm air building across almost the entire lower 48, which means that we are going to have a relatively warm Christmas across the United United States, with really no shot of cold air in the near future here in the United States. But the thing is, after Christmas, things get a little bit more interesting because we are eventually going to see several storm systems move across the Rocky Mountains, which should promote the return of at least some severe weather after Christmas, especially in the southern plains and as well as the Dixie Alley and along the Gulf Coast. So definitely watch for that as we get closer to the end of December, and then eventually as we go into early January. Currently it remains uncertain what will be happening then, but I do think as we go into January, the polar vortex is eventually going to unleash some very cold weather. That's going to happen at some point, I think, in the early to mid portion of January. So what does the future radar look like? Where are we going to be seeing snow? Where will we be seeing rain? And will there be some problems around Christmas? Well, let's begin with what's happening this weekend going into Saturday. There will be some light snowfall in the northeast, and also the atmospheric river events will be occurring across the Pacific Northwest, with heavy snowfall and rainfall occurring, especially in the higher elevations. Dry weather for the remainder of the lower 48. As we go to late Sunday into Monday, a small snow event will begin to develop here across the Midwest. This will be bringing snow to areas like Minnesota, Wisconsin, and as well as Michigan as we go into Monday. This actually does have the potential to bring maybe some winter storm characteristics to areas like Michigan, especially if we get some heavy snowfall. So definitely something to watch for there. And then as we go into late Monday night into Tuesday, that moves into the northeast with some snowfall, and then rain will start to become a thing across areas from Texas back through Kentucky as we go into Christmas Eve. So definitely be ready for that. I wouldn't rule out some severe weather Christmas Eve here across Louisiana and East Texas. A little uncertain about what we'll be seeing in terms of threats, but definitely something to watch for. And then as we go into Christmas Day, that is when the storm will still continue to move to the east, bring some rainfall to the Midwest and as well as the Dixie Alley. Warm weather will start to basically build here across the Ohio Valley, and that could lead to some record-breaking temperatures for Christmas Day. And then eventually, as we go into the day after Christmas, things will continue to stay relatively active with several storm systems, especially east of the Rocky Mountains. And this is when we're going to be watching for the potential for several different storms across the Ohio Valley and Dixie Alley. Exactly what happens there, again, does remain uncertain. But again, I do think the weather is going to ramp up a ton right before the new year. So that cold air mass is going to be huge over the next couple of days here across the east coast of the United States. Below average temperatures will be a big problem. But as we get closer to Christmas, that's when the temperatures are going to really start to warm back up. As we get closer to Christmas Eve, almost the entire country will be above average for temperatures. And even on Christmas Day, we are expecting above average temperatures across nearly the entire lower 48. Record-breaking temperatures possible just north of the Great Lakes in Canada. And then after Christmas, this weather pattern will continue with record-breaking temperatures being a possibility for parts of the United States, even closer to the new year. Now, the actual temperatures on Christmas Eve for high temperatures will be in the 70s along the Gulf Coast. Most of the Ohio Valley will still be in the 30s for high temperatures. Again, I do think Christmas Day will be pretty warm for most of the United States. Many areas in the low to mid 50s across the Ohio Valley and Midwest, and then 60s and 70s along the Gulf Coast back even into Southern California. So again, a pretty warm Christmas is ahead. In terms of total rainfall accumulation through Christmas Day, the majority of it will be across areas east of the Rocky Mountains and also back over along the West Coast, where several inches of rain will be possible there, with an inch or two back over from Texas into southern Missouri. And then after Christmas Day, eventually going closer to the new year, I do think there will be a lot of rain, especially here across the Ohio Valley, Dixie Alley, as an active weather pattern will eventually set up across the United States. And then in terms of total snowfall between now all the way through Thursday of next week, so again, that's all the way through Christmas Day, looks like we're going to have a white Christmas across the Midwest, Northern Plains, and the Northeast, and even back over in the higher elevations in the Pacific Northwest, but elsewhere, not really looking at a white Christmas across most of the United States. And that is all the weather to talk about today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel, and also thank you guys so much for almost getting us to 675,000 subscribers. Honestly, I would have never imagined us even getting to 500,000 subscribers this year, and the fact that we're almost to a, 750,000 subscribers is insane. So thank you guys so much for your support. And a big announcement before today's video ends: I am doing personalized videos for the holidays. This will make as a perfect Christmas gift for a friend or family, or maybe even yourself. And to even make it better, they are now 40% off for the next 3 days. So if you want to get one, they are 40% off. They're going to be starting from $29. You can check it out at the top link in the description below on Cameo. Definitely recommend you get one. I'll be knocking out as many as I possibly can, so definitely go check that out. Again, the top link in the description below.